Hey guys, this vlog today is about your 8K service. The part that I'm doing the sort of do-it-yourself video on is going to pertain to the air filter replacement. Now at 8,000 miles they technically just say you need to inspect it, okay? But I figured because of the amount of work that goes into getting to the air filter to inspect it, I wanted to go ahead and replace it with the K&N high flow air filter. I've used them before, I've had good luck with them, and I have an EJK fuel controller, so if I find it's a little lean, I can make the adjustments I need after replacing the filter. So you don't need to have that on the 8K, but I would have one handy. And I like the K&N because I've got the cleaning kit for it, so the 16,000 mile service, I can pull it out, do the little filter cleaning thing, and then put it right back in. It'll be good to go. Also, you will need two NGK spark plugs, and I will put the type in the description section, but it is also right here, the LMAR8A-9. I went ahead and got 4 of them because I got a better deal on them on eBay. So these are the materials that I will be using in the do-it-yourself video forthcoming on the air filter and spark plug portion of the 8,000 mile maintenance. Bear in mind, on the 8,000 mile maintenance, there's a lot more than this to be done, okay? And you can see where I've been working through it. But it's this whole checklist, and I do every one of these items. So, if you're going to do your own service, I would be prepared to do all of these things in the service manual. A lot of them are really simple, a lot of them are very straightforward, but these are 2 items that I have found, especially the spark plugs. There's not a lot of video. I haven't seen a video on it for the FZ-07, and it's a little tricky. So, with no further ado, let's get to it. Hey guys, I want to go over a few tools that you will need for this part of the service. These are the ones, I waited until I was done just so I could make sure I had everything that I used in this list. So here we go. You will need a ratchet, and you will need 2 extensions on it with the deep wells. The only one you need to have the deep well on is the 14, which is what you use for the spark plugs. And you need the deep well and 2 extensions to reach it from above, believe me, I know. So that's a short one and a long one. I think that's 6 and that's 3. So anyway, ratchet, 10-in-1 screwdriver, flashlight. This thing, and one with a little grippy thing so you can set it somewhere. I got a lot of light down here on it, but you still need that to sort of see what you're doing up inside the motorcycle. A semi-long, at least medium length Phillips head. The Allen wrenches that you need are a 3 and a 4.5 millimeter, and if you don't have a full set like I do here, sorry, 3 and 4.5, don't know if I caught that in the camera. If you have a full set like I have in here, both of these should be in your toolkit under your bike. You'll need a stubby screwdriver, Phillips head, J-set if you have it, some 1/4-inch tubing, and you'll see why, and a magnetic grabber thing. This one's kind of cool. It's telescopic. Really helped me a lot. Like having it anytime I'm working on the bike, in case I drop a screw or whatever, you can just sort of reach down and get whatever you need with it. So anyway, and definitely some gloves. I was glad I had them along for the ride this time. So anyway, those are the basic tools that you will need to do this. I think that's all of them. Don't think I missed anything. Now these are the tools specifically pertaining to the air filter replacement, although the procedure will also go well for just inspecting it, which is technically all they ask you to do at 8,000 miles, and for the spark plug replacement. So anyway, yep, basic tools. Oh, and also, good thing to have, your owner's manual. And you'll see how it sort of kept me out of some trouble in this little misadventure. It comes with your bike. Hopefully you've kept up with it. Okay, so here we are. Here's the original manufacturer's filter. from Yamaha Motorsports. You know, not bad after 8,000 miles. I've actually had the snorkel off, so I was actually surprised it wasn't any dirtier. And here is the K&N. I know some people who love their filters will say these are not true performance race filters, but they're much better than what I'm taking out, I'm sure, and it's reusable because I've already got the kit, had them in my Suzuki. So this is how I got to it. Got to remove all your plastics, and then there's some bolts back here that hold the tank down to the frame. So I remove those, and geez, this is tough to do. They go, well, let me show you on this side. It's pretty straightforward. These go right here. If you can see that. These here go right here. Yeah, that's a better shot. Okay, so rather than remove the whole tank, which requires you to take the breathers and the plugs off, what I did was I just removed those, and it actually pivots up quite nicely. And then, as you can see, I took my DeWalt drill bit case and just propped it up. And so at that point I was able to access the air filter compartment. So now I'm putting the new K&N in there, and it fits quite nice. I feel it's getting a nice secure sort of snug fit there. Nice gasket, seems to be sealing it off nicely. And then I have to put the cover back on it. I cleverly placed over here. 4 bolts for it. And pretty straightforward at that point. On the cover, one side of it's raised more than the other. So you kind of have to put it back on this way, or you'll know. But anyway, put that back on. Oh, removing the old one. Don't just think once you take the 4 bolts off of that, 4 screws off of that cover, you're done. There's actually a surprise screw that holds this down into the frame. You don't have that with K&N. When I was trying to pull this up and wondering what was fighting me, it was that screw, which is down that long hole. Well, anyway. You need a decent length screwdriver to reach it. I had one. It was trickier to get it on there and lined up than it was to do anything else. So now I'm going to put those 4 screws back on, and the air filter portion of this will be done. Okay. Okay, so I've put in the 4 screws on the air filter. They're kind of a bitch. You want to use your long screwdriver, like something like this, for the other ones. But even with the tank propped up, I had to go to my little nubby screwdriver, which is a handy little thing. If you don't have one, you gotta have one of each. One Phillips, one flat. Anyway, good to have. This one's a number 2, which is not perfect for working on Japanese bikes, because they have the JSO heads, but if you're careful not to strip it out, it works fine. Anyway, so there you have it. Now all I got to do is put the bolts back in here, which I'd be doing right now, except now I get to change the spark plugs out. See those guys right there? Yep, they're next. And it's a tight set. So I'm going to get going on them, and we'll pick this up in a bit. Okay, so when we left off, the tank was still on. I found a way to avoid removing it for the air filter, and if that's all you're doing, then you're fine. But as tight as those little guys are in there, the spark plugs, figured I needed all the access I could get, plus I couldn't figure out how I was going to thread them down with this in place. So there's a bolt here, comes in on this side, and it's 12mm, and that holds the front of the tank after you remove the ones I showed you earlier. And then you have to remove a few plugs on it. This one here which is on the front of the tank. You can see as soon as the plastics go up, and when you prop it up, there's this one here and this one here, which is actually your fuel line, and it drips a little, but it's actually, it won't like gush gas everywhere, so don't worry about that. To open that thing, you sort of click it down and then press both of these, and that's sort of your check valve. So when you open it back up, you got to watch out for that. So anyway, that's where we're at with that. So now all I've got to do is get these caps. Once you get the plugs themselves disconnected that carry the ignition. I don't know how well that's turning out, but maybe I can do it this way. Down this way. But let's see here. Okay. So each of these has a little thing that plugs into it, like that. Okay, and this carries the spark to it. So what I did was, the one closest to me, I put a little piece of electric tape on. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. I can. You should be able to. See that right there? And that way I know the one closest to me goes back on this one. I'm not certain that that's a problem, but I just want to put it back exactly like I found it. So anyway, I'll be back once these things appear to be threaded. These caps that sit on the spark plugs themselves. So I've been turning on for a little bit, so I'm going to try to get one of them off, and I'll walk you through how I did it. But that is the space I have to work in. But you can see there is light from above, so I think almost have to take that off to get the spark plug itself off. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, so cap one is out. That's what it's like when it's out. It's I don't know, what's that, about 5 inches long. It is not, despite those threading looking things, threaded at all. To get it out, I found that spinning it and lifting at the same time, so sort of rocking, turning it in the thing, that's why I thought it was threaded, because it will turn and sort of feels tight, while pulling it out of that hole right there, which is where the spark plug lurks. So now I've got to get down into that to get my spark plug. You can see the other one I still have to pull over there. But anyway, that is what you're up against. Not too bad once you figure that out. And I felt kind of stupid because it wasn't threading out, so I went to my owner's manual, and it says right there, well, let me get it to focus. Do not use tools you can read. So that's what it says, and it actually works. Okay. Okay, a couple things. I got spark plug number one out. You can see here I actually have two extensions and a deep well socket that I'm working with. It's 14 millimeters. And here is the old plug. Come out of its shell. So, take a look down here. About what you'd expect, I suppose. Let me get in some decent light here. Not too dark, not too light. If anything, it looks like it's been run a little lean, but nothing too crazy either way. It's a wild looking spark plug. I've never seen one like that before with that much threading, but there she is. This thing you saw it hanging from earlier is how I pulled it out. It is a magnetic tool, and I think I got this one from Harbor Freight for like $5. Definitely a handy thing to have, just if you drop anything down a bike or whatever. I would definitely recommend one. Definitely a lifesaver here. But anyway, okay, on to spark plug number two. Hey, so okay, got to put the new ones in, and they got to go into that same deep pit. So I came up with something that I think is pretty smart. I saw a reference to it and I didn't understand what they were talking about on FZ-07.org. Great website if you're an FZ owner. But I got some 1/4 inch tube in here and melted the end so it's got a decent grip on this. So it'll hold the spark plug in and even maybe get it started threading. So I don't have to worry about cross threading it. and it's flexible. So I'm going to see how it works. I'll let you know. There we go. Don't want to use tape for something like this because I didn't want tape to fall down in it. So here goes nothing. I'll be back. Thought I would at least show how these things go back on, which might help you reverse engineer taking them back off. Basically, if you haven't used those push pin things before, you pull it through, put it where it goes, snap it down, okay? And so at this point, all you have to do is line up these on their brackets right there, and then come over to here, forgive the mess, and grab the screw and start batting down the hatches, so to speak. And so that piece goes on first. I'm going to stop this here while I batten down the other one. You don't need to watch all that. And then I'll come back on as I start putting the side plastics on. Okay, be right back. Stick there. So these pieces here, put this back where it belongs, are actually two pieces, but they came off together, so I figured I'd just keep them together. And so this part is basically just lining up that stuff, that hole, and then you've got some like little push fittings up in here. Feel that? Where they just go in. And once it's right, man, you'll know. You know, it feels like that's where it belongs. So at that point, I always like to start with these little thingies. So that's what I'm going to do. And I don't know that you need to sit through this either. But you basically have one there of the push thingies, which I stole. That one should have been that one, but well, you get the deal. And then this one. And this is an easy one to miss when you're taking the side fairings off. It goes, I don't know how well you can see that, but probably not well. Sorry for the sports cam, my phone ran out of room. Right there. Okay? And so once you get those in place, the rest of it sort of just does itself. And because I line these up like this, it's a pretty simple matter to grab this and this and start batting down the hatches. Now, I'm not going to do that. What I'm actually going to do is go over and get my other side fairing and put that on, just to make sure that I don't have a problem before I start throwing all the screws down. And that's just what I've done that before, and it sucks. So it's a little, so you feel a snap action there, okay? And it's a little push fitting in here. You have to find it, but when you do, it goes, okay? And you can see that down there. There, you can feel it, because this actually lines up once you get it in, okay? And we're good there, there. Looks like that matches up. All these seem to be matching up pretty nicely. Yep. That seems to be almost spot on. And so, oh, you whore. So, away we go. I'll make it look so easy. And it takes a little time to work it. The trick with these things is to not get in a big rush and get into a hurry to do them. Just to work it a little at a time. A little at a time. There's, I think, 3 or 4 of these things in there. But you feel them when they go in. And you're solid at that point. So, okay, I'm just going to put the bolts in. It's kind of hot down here in the basement with the helmet on, so I'm going to stop. But that's basically how they go together. There you go. You hear the click, the positive click, and then they just sort of screw in together. So I'll be back.